I'm Elena, and I am truly grateful that you have chosen to spend this time with me. If you are watching this video, you are likely at a very specific and interesting stage in your English journey. You understand almost everything you hear. You can hold conversations, write emails, and travel without issues. Yet, you might still feel a gap. There is a distance between the English you understand and the English you speak. You might feel that your personality in English is slightly simpler or less colorful than your true self. That is the intermediate plateau, and today we are going to break through it. This masterclass is not just about learning more words, it is about learning nuance. C1 and C2 fluency isn't just about grammar rules, it's about psychology, strategy, and emotional intelligence. It is the difference between saying, "I don't like it," and "it is not really my thing." It is the difference between asking, "Why?" and asking, "What led you to that conclusion?" In this session, we are going to bridge the gap between being a student of English and being a master of it. We will explore how to navigate complex social situations, how to express subtle emotions, how to manage professional disagreements, and how to tell stories that captivate listeners. We will focus on context, understanding not just what to say, but why, when, and how to say it to sound like a native speaker. So, I invite you to settle in, clear your distractions, and let us begin this deep dive into advanced fluency. Let us start with a warm-up topic that many advanced learners enjoy, which is how daily habits shape our communication skills. Think about your everyday routine. How often do you expose yourself to English? Do you listen to podcasts during breakfast? Do you read a few pages of a book before bed? Do you talk to yourself in English while doing simple tasks like cooking or driving? These small habits may seem unimportant, but they build your fluency faster than you might expect. Researchers in language learning say that consistent exposure matters more than long, difficult study sessions. In fact, many experts suggest that using English for short periods, several times a day, is more effective than trying to study for hours once a week. This is because your brain learns a language through repetition, meaning, and context. The more often you hear natural expressions, the faster your brain turns them into something familiar, something automatic. Let us reflect on that for a moment. When you hear phrases designed to link time and frequency, do they feel natural to you? For example, instead of just saying often, an advanced speaker might say they practice on a regular basis. Instead of saying sometimes, they might say they check the news from time to time. When giving an opinion, rather than just saying, "I think," they might use a phrase like, "as far as I am concerned," which adds a layer of personal conviction. At C1 and C2 levels, your goal is to reduce translation and increase intuition. You want to reach a point where English ideas come to your mind without effort. That is one of the main purposes of today's practice, to help you think in English through long, meaningful listening. Now let us dive into our first advanced topic, which is how modern life affects the way we communicate. This is something that people across the world can relate to. Whether you live in the United States, India, Europe, Africa, the Middle East, or Southeast Asia, communication has changed dramatically in the past decade. Many conversations now happen through text messages, video calls, or voice notes. People share their thoughts instantly, often without thinking deeply. At the same time, real face-to-face conversations sometimes become less frequent. This shift affects language in interesting ways. Because we communicate so quickly, many people use shorter sentences, simpler expressions, or emojis to express emotions. But when it comes to advanced English, you need to go beyond short messages. You need to express opinions, explain your reasoning, agree and disagree politely, and talk about complex issues using clear structure and precise vocabulary. Let us practice this idea with a few questions. As you listen, try to answer in your mind or speak out loud. How has technology changed the way you communicate with people? Do you feel communication today is better or worse than it was in the past? Do you think social media helps us stay connected, or does it make conversations more shallow? These questions require more than simple yes or no answers. They push you to explain, expand, and justify your ideas. That is exactly the kind of thinking you need at the C1 and C2 levels. For example, instead of saying technology is helpful, an advanced learner might say, technology has definitely changed the way I communicate. On one hand, it allows me to stay in touch with people easily, regardless of distance. On the other hand, I sometimes feel conversations have become less personal because we miss out on body language. Notice the structure on one hand and on the other hand. These transitions help you sound organized and fluent by contrasting two different viewpoints. As we continue through the video, you will hear many expressions like this. Try to repeat them when possible. Let us shift to another related topic, the importance of active listening. At advanced levels, speaking is only half of communication. The other half is the ability to listen carefully, understand details, and respond appropriately. Have you ever noticed how some people listen only to reply, not to understand? They wait for their turn to speak, but they do not fully process what the other person is saying. Active listening means paying attention not just to the words, but also to the tone, the intention, and the emotion behind the message. When learning English, this skill helps you understand fast speech, advanced phrases, idioms, and subtle meanings. It also helps you respond more naturally. For example, if someone says, "I have been overwhelmed lately," an advanced learner does not respond with a simple, "Okay." Instead, they might probe deeper to show they care by saying, "I am sorry to hear that. Is it because of the workload at your job or just life in general?" This shows understanding, empathy, and fluency. To deepen this concept of active listening, let us explore a technique often used by advanced communicators called mirroring. Mirroring is when you subtly repeat or rephrase what the other person has said to show that you are fully engaged. It is a powerful tool for building rapport and keeping a conversation flowing without the pressure of always coming up with a new topic. For instance, if a friend says, "I finally decided to quit my job yesterday," you might simply mirror them by saying, "You decided to quit?" Utilizing a rising intonation. This invites them to elaborate on their reasons. Or if a colleague says, "This project is becoming a nightmare," you could respond with, "A nightmare? In what way?" This technique takes the pressure off you to be interesting and instead makes you interested. It signals that you are tracking the conversation perfectly. Advanced listening also involves picking up on what isn't said. If someone says, "I guess I can manage that project," the hesitation in the phrase, "I guess," suggests they are unsure or reluctant. A C2 speaker might pick up on this and ask, "You sound a bit hesitant. Are you sure you have the bandwidth for it?" Being able to read these verbal cues is what separates a fluent speaker from a truly advanced communicator. In this video, you will hear many real-life expressions. You might hear someone say, "I have been meaning to call you," which implies they wanted to do it but were distracted. You might hear, "I can relate to that," which is a perfect way to validate someone's experience. You may hear someone admit surprise by saying, "That caught me off guard." Or perhaps during a debate, someone might soften their disagreement by saying, "I wouldn't go that far, but I see your point." These are expressions used by fluent speakers every day, and they help you sound more natural and confident. As we move forward, remember that the goal is not to memorize everything. The goal is to let English flow through your mind, to let it become familiar, comfortable, and natural. The more you expose yourself to real English, the faster you will achieve C1 and C2 levels. As we continue this advanced English practice, let us move into a topic that is extremely important for C1 and C2 learners: expressing complex ideas clearly and naturally. At advanced levels, it is not just about understanding difficult vocabulary. It is about using language to communicate thoughts that are subtle, layered, and meaningful. Think about this for a moment. In your native language, when you are discussing a deep topic, maybe something about society, relationships, personal growth, or global issues, you probably use nuanced expressions without even realizing it. You might say things like, "It is not that simple. It depends on the context," or "There is more to it than that." In English, advanced speakers use similar phrasings to avoid sounding too black and white. For example, when faced with a difficult problem, you might say, "It is a bit more complicated than it seems on the surface." If you are analyzing a situation, you might say, "There are several factors to consider before we decide." If you disagree with someone but want to remain polite, you could say, "I understand where you are coming from, but I see it differently." Or perhaps, "That is a valid point, although I would argue that the opposite is also true." These kinds of expressions show maturity, clarity, and depth. They help you participate in meaningful conversations rather than superficial ones. Now, let us explore a real-world topic that many people around the world can relate to: how expectations shape our daily lives. Expectations from family, society, work, or even from ourselves can influence how we think and behave. This topic is very common in advanced English discussions because it touches emotions, psychology, and life experience. Let us reflect on a few questions. Answers in your mind or out loud will help you train your fluency. What expectations do you feel from the people around you? Do you think these expectations help you grow, or do they add pressure? How do expectations affect your confidence or your decisions? These questions require more than simple vocabulary. They require explanation, examples, and reflections, something C1 and C2 learners must practice often. For example, an advanced speaker might say, "I believe expectations can be both motivating and stressful." On one hand, they push us to reach our potential and work harder. On the other hand, they can create pressure that negatively affects our mental well-being. This kind of structure mirrors the way native speakers express complex opinions. Notice how the sentence uses balance, comparison, and nuance. These elements help you move from intermediate English to advanced English. Now, let us explore natural conversation flow, something that many advanced learners want to master. A common struggle is feeling like your speech is too formal or too stiff. At high levels, you want to sound natural, not robotic or overly academic. One way to do this is by using small conversational tools that native speakers use without thinking. If you need to correct a misconception, start with "actually." If you suddenly remember something relevant, say, "Now that you mention it." If a topic triggers a memory, say, "That reminds me of something." To soften a harsh truth, start with "to be honest." If you have a realization, you might say, "I have never thought about it that way." If you are speculating, use "if I had to guess, I would say." And to introduce a shocking fact, try "what surprised me was." These phrases make your speech smoother and more dynamic. They help you sound more like you are thinking in English rather than translating. Throughout this video, you will hear many expressions like these, so your brain becomes familiar with them. Let us shift to another topic that advanced English speakers often discuss: personal growth and long-term goals. Whether someone comes from South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, or the Middle East, almost everyone wants to improve their life in some way: career, relationships, health, or personal development. Here are some questions that push you to think in English. What long-term goals are most important to you right now? Do you believe people can truly change, or do you think personality stays the same? What is one area of your life you want to improve this year? Advanced English is not just about vocabulary. It is about expressing emotions, motivation, and introspection. Let us take one example of how to articulate a personal struggle. I have been trying to become more disciplined with my time. It is not easy, but I am slowly improving. I have realized that small, consistent habits make a big difference in the long run. This is natural, detailed, and emotionally honest. It sounds like a real human expressing a real struggle. Exactly the kind of fluency you want. Let us move to another essential advanced skill: handling disagreements politely. In many countries, people avoid arguments. In others, debates are normal. But in English, it is important to disagree without sounding rude or aggressive. Here are some polite yet advanced ways to express disagreement. Instead of saying, "You are wrong," you could say, "I see your point, but I am not completely convinced." If someone interprets data one way, you could counter with, "That is an interesting perspective, though I would interpret the facts differently." To show you value the person even while disagreeing, say, "I respect your opinion, but I have a slightly different take on the matter." Or simply, "I understand what you mean, although I do not fully agree with the conclusion." These expressions show confidence, respect, and clarity. Key characteristics of C1 and C2 communication. Now, let us move into an interesting and highly relatable topic: how routines shape our confidence. Many people underestimate how daily routines influence their ability to speak a language. The truth is, confidence does not come from perfection. It comes from consistency. The more you expose yourself to English daily, the more natural and effortless your speech becomes. Let us think about your routine. Do you practice English intentionally, or only when you have free time? Do you listen to English during tasks like exercising, cooking, or commuting? The more English you absorb passively, the easier active speaking becomes. Here is a useful advanced sentence pattern known as the comparative correlative. The more I practice, the more confident I feel. You can use this for almost anything. The more I listen to native speakers, the more natural everything sounds to me. Or, regarding personal growth, the more I challenge myself, the more progress I notice. This structure is very common in natural English, and mastering it helps you sound more fluent instantly. Now, let us explore a meaningful topic that touches almost everyone: finding balance in life with work, family, school, relationships, and personal goals. It is easy to feel overwhelmed. Advanced conversations often involve discussing balance, priorities, and decision-making. Try to answer this question in your mind. Do you feel your life is balanced, or do you feel pulled in many directions? A natural advanced answer might sound like this: lately, I have been trying to find a better balance. I realized I was focusing too much on work and not enough on my well-being. So now I am learning to slow down and take things one step at a time. Expressions like "take things one step at a time," "slow down," and "find balance" are extremely common in daily English. As we continue, we will explore even deeper topics, more advanced structures, and more natural expressions to help you reach C1 and C2 levels. As we move forward in this advanced English practice, let us explore a topic that almost every learner finds relatable: how our environment influences the way we speak, think, and react. Whether you live in a quiet town, a busy city, or somewhere in between, the world around you shapes your communication style in interesting ways. For example, if you live in a fast-paced environment, you might naturally speak more quickly or more directly to get your point across efficiently. If your culture values politeness or indirect communication, you might express opinions more gently or cautiously to maintain social harmony. Understanding these patterns helps you become aware of how you use English and how you can adjust your style depending on the situation. Let us go deeper into this concept of cultural context, often called high context versus low context communication. This is a fascinating area for advanced learners because it explains why direct translations often fail to capture the true feeling of a message. In low context cultures like the United States or Germany, communication tends to be explicit. People say exactly what they mean. If they want you to do something, they will likely ask you directly. However, in high context cultures such as Japan, many Arab nations, or parts of Latin America, communication is often indirect. The meaning is found in the situation, the relationship, and the silence between words, not just the words themselves. As an advanced English speaker, you need to be able to navigate both styles. You need the flexibility to be direct when clarity is required, but also the subtlety to be indirect when diplomacy is needed. For example, a direct speaker might critique a document by saying, "This report is wrong, please fix it." An indirect, more diplomatic speaker might achieve the same goal by saying, "I think we might need to review the data in this section again. The numbers do not seem to align perfectly with our projections." Both sentences aim for the same result, but the second one preserves harmony and saves face. Mastering this softening language is a hallmark of C2 fluency. It involves using modal verbs like might, could, or would, and introductory phrases like, "It seems to me that," or "I might be mistaken, but." Let us start with a few reflective questions on this. Do you think your environment affects the way you communicate in English? Do you feel more confident speaking English at home, at school, at work, or with friends? How does the atmosphere around you influence your level of fluency? These questions push you to think deeper, which is essential at the C1 and C2 levels. Advanced English is not only about grammar, it is about self-awareness and communication strategy. Now, let us talk about something that many advanced learners underestimate: the power of storytelling at high levels. One of the best ways to show fluency is by telling stories smoothly. Stories about your day, your past experiences, your challenges, or even your dreams for the future. When you tell a story well in English, you show control of tenses, transitions, emotions, and descriptive vocabulary. Here are some natural storytelling expressions designed to hook the listener. You might start with, "Let me tell you about something interesting that happened recently." When reaching a memorable part, you could say, "I will never forget the moment when it finally clicked." When reflecting on the past, you might say, "Looking back, I realized that I was too young to understand." And to show the resolution of a problem, you might say, "At first, I did not understand what was happening, but then eventually I figured things out." These phrases create a natural flow, helping listeners follow your thoughts clearly. Let us practice this idea with a simple reflection. Think about a moment from your life, maybe something surprising, funny, stressful, or meaningful. Now, try to describe it using English in your mind. Use transitions like at first, after a while, in the end. What surprised me was, the strange thing is. This helps you build confidence and practice real-life storytelling, which is a powerful component of advanced fluency. Now, let us dive into another essential skill for C1 and C2 learners, using precise vocabulary. At advanced levels, you do not need complicated words, you need accurate ones. For example, rather than simply saying something is very important, advanced speakers might describe a rule as crucial, a nutrient as essential, or a historical event as significant. Instead of describing a building or a problem as very big, they might describe the building as massive or the problem as enormous. If an amount is very small, they might refer to it as tiny, minimal, or limited. And regarding preferences, instead of saying, "I do not like it," they might soften the blow by saying, "It does not appeal to me," or "I am not a big fan of it," or casually, "It is not really my thing." These choices help your speech become richer, clearer, and more expressive. Let us explore an advanced topic that appears often in real conversations: dealing with uncertainty. In life, we constantly make decisions without knowing exactly what will happen. Being able to express uncertainty in English is a sign of advanced fluency. When you are not 100% committed to a fact, you might say, "I am not entirely sure, but I think this is the right path." If the situation is ambiguous, you could say, "It is hard to say for certain at this stage." If you are speculating, you might add, "Although my best guess is that prices will rise." Or, to show you are making an observation based on limited data, "As far as I can tell, it seems likely that he will resign." These expressions soften your speech, making it sound natural and thoughtful. Now, let us reflect on this idea more deeply. Life is full of uncertainty about the future, about work, about relationships, about opportunities. Expressing uncertainty in English shows emotional intelligence and nuance. Try answering these questions in your mind. What is something you have been unsure about lately? How do you deal with uncertainty in your life? Do you usually trust your instincts, or do you rely on facts and logic? At advanced levels, these reflections help you speak more naturally and thoughtfully. Now, let us shift to another important aspect of advanced English, showing empathy through language. Empathy is a human skill that no machine or translation app can replicate. When you express empathy, you show understanding, care, and emotional intelligence, qualities highly valued in C1 and C2 communication. If a friend tells you bad news, saying, "I can imagine how that must feel," validates their pain. If they describe a difficult task, saying, "That sounds really challenging," shows you are listening. If they share a loss, "I am sorry you had to go through that," offers comfort. And to build a bridge between your experiences, you might say, "I can relate to what you are saying," or "I have experienced something similar, so I understand." Using these phrases makes your English warmer, more human, and more connected. Now, let us explore a global topic that people everywhere can relate to: the fast pace of modern life. Many people today feel busier than ever. Whether you are a student, an employee, a parent, or someone building your own business, life can feel overwhelming. But this is also an opportunity to practice advanced vocabulary and expressions. For example, if you are handling many tasks at once, you can say, "I have been juggling multiple responsibilities lately." If deadlines are approaching fast, you might say, I feel like I am constantly racing against time. If you decide to prioritize health over work, you could explain, I have been trying to slow down and reset my priorities. Or if someone asks how you are, you might honestly reply, life has been hectic, but I am managing. These are expressions you will hear in workplaces, universities, and daily life. Let us go deeper. One of the most important parts of advanced communication is being able to reflect on your experiences. Reflection helps you articulate thoughts clearly, which is essential at higher levels. Try answering these questions internally. What is one lesson you have learned recently? Is there something you wish you had handled differently? How have you grown over the past year? These reflective questions help your brain build stronger English connections. Now, let us explore a highly practical skill, making your speech more structured. Native speakers often organize their thoughts naturally, using signposting language. When starting a list of arguments, they might say, first of all. When adding a supporting point, they use secondly or on top of that. To show a difference, they use in contrast. And to conclude, they might say to sum up. Using these structures helps your English sound organized and polished, especially in academic or professional contexts. Before we move to the next part, let us end this section with a key reminder. Advanced English is not about perfection. It is about clarity, confidence, and connection. It is about expressing who you are, what you think, and how you see the world. As we continue on this journey toward advanced English fluency, let us shift into a topic that challenges many learners around the world: developing confidence when expressing your true thoughts and opinions in English. At C1 and C2 levels, fluency is not just about vocabulary. It is about feeling comfortable sharing your ideas the same way you would in your native language. Think about this. Have you ever had a moment when you understood everything in English but did not know how to express your opinions smoothly? Maybe the words felt stuck, or you were not sure how to phrase your thoughts in a natural way. This barrier is common, especially for learners who are transitioning into advanced speaking. To help with this, let us explore some natural expressions that advanced speakers use when giving opinions. If you want to offer a personal view, start with, if you ask me. To clarify your position, say, from my perspective. To show strong conviction, use, as far as I am concerned. When admitting a difficult truth, try to be completely honest. And to sound formal yet personal, you can say, I am of the opinion that. These phrases help you start your sentences confidently and give your speech structure and flow. They also signal that what follows is thoughtful and intentional. Let us practice with a few real-world questions. Think about them and try to answer in English. What is something you strongly believe in? What is a habit you think everyone should develop? What is one thing people often misunderstand about you? Training yourself to express these deeper ideas naturally is one of the keys to reaching C1 and C2. Now, let us shift to a topic that advanced learners often find fascinating: the psychology of communication. At a high level, language is not just information. It is emotion, identity, culture, and connection. Every time you communicate in English, you are not just forming sentences. You are building relationships, expressing personality, and shaping how others perceive you. For example, the way you say something can change the entire meaning. Compare these two responses. Yes, I guess, versus, I think that would work really well. The first sounds unsure, passive, or even reluctant. The second sounds confident, supportive, and engaged. At advanced levels, tone matters as much as vocabulary. You want to sound like someone who participates in the conversation, not someone who simply reacts to it. To improve your communication psychology, practice using assertive yet polite phrases. Instead of just wanting something, say, "I would prefer if we could." To contribute to a discussion, say, "One thing I would like to add is." To validate someone else, say, "I completely agree with that point." Or, to offer a counterpoint, say, "I am not entirely sure about that, but here is how I see it." These expressions elevate your English to a more mature and professional level. Let us move to another important topic: expressing complex emotions. At advanced levels, you need more than basic words like happy, sad, angry, or tired. You want to capture subtle feelings. If you have too much work and feel stressed, you might say, "I am a bit overwhelmed." If you have mixed feelings about a decision, you could say, "I feel conflicted about that." If you are hopeful but realistic, you might say, "I am cautiously optimistic." If a situation is too difficult for your current skills, you could admit, "I am feeling a little out of my depth." And if someone does something amazing, you can say, "I am genuinely impressed." These expressions help you communicate more precisely and naturally, especially in emotional or personal conversations. Now, let us explore a topic that affects almost everyone: time management and productivity in modern life. With screens, notifications, deadlines, and responsibilities pulling us in every direction, many people struggle to balance everything. Here are some advanced expressions related to this topic. If you are organizing your day better, you can say, "I have been trying to prioritize my tasks more effectively." If you delay work because of stress, you might admit, "I tend to procrastinate when I feel stressed." If you need to stop working late, you could say, "I am learning to set healthier boundaries with my time." And if you are tired but not physically, you might realize, "I have realized I need to manage my energy, not just my schedule." These are phrases you will hear in workplace conversations, coaching sessions, and academic discussions. Let us pause for a moment and reflect. How do you currently manage your time? Do you feel productive, or do you often feel rushed? What is one habit you want to improve to use your time better? Thinking about meaningful questions like these helps you build deeper, more expressive English. Now, let us explore a topic that people worldwide experience: building and maintaining meaningful relationships. Whether friendships, family connections, or professional relationships, communication is the foundation of connection. Advanced English helps you maintain healthy, respectful, and supportive relationships in many environments. Here are natural phrases to strengthen relationship-based communication. To acknowledge someone's hard work, say, "I really appreciate the effort you put in." To validate someone's truthfulness, say, "I value your honesty." To show empathy, say, "I understand what you are going through." To express thanks, say, "I am grateful for your support." And to offer assistance, say, "Let me know how I can help." These expressions show emotional maturity and warmth, key components of advanced communication. Let us go deeper. Many psychologists say that strong relationships rely on understanding, patience, and the ability to express emotions clearly. When you communicate well, you avoid misunderstandings, resolve conflicts faster, and create more trust with the people around you. Try answering these reflective questions. What qualities do you value most in a friend? How do you try to maintain strong connections with the people you care about? What is one thing you wish people understood better about your communication style? Questions like these help you explore your inner thoughts in English, training your fluency at a deeper level. Next, let us discuss one of the most important skills at C1 and C2, summarizing and paraphrasing. Advanced English speakers do not always repeat things word for word. They rephrase ideas naturally. For example, instead of repeating, "He said he cannot come because he is busy," an advanced speaker might condense the information by saying, "He mentioned that he would not make it due to a busy schedule." Instead of describing a book by saying, "The book is about how people think," an advanced speaker might use more academic vocabulary. "The book explores human thought and behavior." Paraphrasing helps you sound more natural, more flexible, and more confident. Before we close this part, let us end with a key idea. Advanced English is not about sounding perfect. It is about expressing yourself authentically, thoughtfully, and confidently. As you listen, absorb the rhythm, the expressions, and the natural flow. This repeated exposure is what brings you closer to C1 and C2 fluency. As we continue this advanced English journey, let us dive into a topic that matters deeply to people around the world, making meaningful progress in life and staying motivated even when things get difficult. At C1 and C2 levels, speaking about motivation, challenges, and personal development is very common, whether in job interviews, university discussions, or everyday conversations. Let us begin with something simple but powerful. Everyone wants to improve, but not everyone knows how to keep going when progress feels slow. This is true for language learning, career growth, fitness goals, almost everything in life. English fluency develops in the same way. Some days you feel confident, other days you struggle to express simple thoughts, and that is completely normal. Here is an advanced expression that captures this idea. Progress is not always visible, but that does not mean it is not happening. Or, to describe the hidden work involved in success, growth often happens beneath the surface long before we notice it. These kinds of phrases show depth, emotional awareness, and sophisticated language control, hallmarks of advanced English. Let us take a moment to reflect. Think about something you have been trying to improve recently. It could be your English, your health, your relationships, or your career. Ask yourself, what motivates you to keep going? What discourages you? How do you handle setbacks? These are deep questions that require emotional expression, and practicing them in English strengthens your fluency. Now, let us explore a topic that advanced learners love: self-discipline and consistency. Many people assume that successful language learners have natural talent, but in reality, fluency comes from consistent habits, not perfection. Here are some natural advanced expressions related to consistency. You might say, "I have been trying to stay consistent even on days when I do not feel motivated," which highlights the struggle between feelings and actions. Or, "I am working on developing better habits one step at a time." If you prioritize routine over inspiration, you could say, "I have realized that discipline is more reliable than motivation." And to link habits to future success, you might say, "I am learning to build routines that support my long-term goals." These expressions are especially useful when talking about personal growth or lifestyle changes. Let us move into something even more practical: handling stress and mental load. In modern life, stress is one of the most common challenges people face. Whether it is pressure from work, school, family, or social expectations, stress affects how we speak, how we think, and how we behave. Here are some advanced natural expressions describing stress. Instead of just saying you are stressed, you can say, "I have been feeling a bit overwhelmed lately," which implies the volume of tasks is too high. To show you are taking action, say, "I am trying to manage my stress more effectively." If the stress comes from expectations, say, "I have been under a lot of pressure these days." If you need a break, use the idiom, I need to slow down and take a breather. And to describe maintaining stability, say, I am doing my best to stay grounded. These sentences help you express subtle emotions without sounding dramatic or unnatural. Let us pause for a moment and reflect. What has been the biggest source of stress in your life recently? How do you usually cope with pressure? Do you tend to face problems directly, or do you avoid them? Thinking in English while answering these questions strengthens your reasoning and emotional expression, essential skills at advanced levels. Now, let us talk about a topic that is incredibly useful for C1 and C2 learners: expressing contrasts and comparing ideas. In advanced conversations, you often need to show balance, contrast, or nuance. Here are some natural structures native speakers use. To concede a point before making your own, say, although I agree with that point, I think. To show two sides of a coin, use, while that may be true, it is also important to consider. To introduce an opposite view, use, on the contrary. To draw a parallel, say, in comparison. And to stick to your belief despite evidence, say, despite that, I believe. Learning to use these helps you speak with depth and sophistication. Let us try applying this with a relatable topic: work-life balance. Many people around the world struggle to balance their responsibilities with their personal lives. An advanced response might sound like, although I understand the importance of working hard, I also believe that rest is essential. Without a healthy balance, productivity and well-being both suffer. This type of sentence shows clarity, nuance, and maturity in your English. Next, let us explore mindset, a topic that influences every aspect of communication. A strong mindset helps you learn faster, stay motivated, and handle challenges effectively. Here are some natural advanced expressions about mindset. If you are trying to be more optimistic, say, I am learning to shift my mindset and focus on solutions rather than problems. If you are reframing failures, say, I have been trying to view setbacks as opportunities for growth. To describe mental toughness, you could say, I am working on developing a more positive, resilient attitude. And regarding the power of belief, I have realized that mindset has a huge impact on how I experience challenges. These expressions show emotional intelligence and thoughtful communication. Now, let us move into a topic that truly stretches your advanced English, discussing global issues in a balanced, thoughtful way. C1 and C2 speakers often need to talk about topics like the economy, climate change, culture, education, or social trends without sounding extreme or simplistic. For example, regarding international trade, you might say, it is clear that globalization has brought both benefits and challenges. To show you are looking at the big picture, you could say, from a broader perspective, this issue is more complex than it appears. To show balanced reasoning, one could argue that technology has improved our lives, but it has also created new concerns. And to suggest a path forward, there is no simple solution, but open dialogue is a good starting point. These types of statements help you sound mature, analytical, and fluent. Let us reflect on a few deeper questions. Answer them in your mind. How has technology changed life in your country? Do you think people today are happier or more stressed than past generations? Is your society moving in a positive direction, or do you feel concerned? These reflections help you practice expressing thoughtful, balanced opinions. Before we wrap up this section, let us focus on one more advanced skill, expressing future hopes and ambitions. At C1 and C2 levels, you want to express dreams and intentions in a natural way. Instead of just saying, I want a new job, you might say, in the future, I hope to broaden my opportunities. To express a desire for difficulty, say, I would like to challenge myself more professionally. If you are setting a milestone, say, one of my long-term goals is to improve my communication skills. And regarding personal courage, I am planning to push myself out of my comfort zone. These expressions help you talk about your future with confidence and clarity. As we continue this advanced English practice, let us dive into an area that becomes increasingly important as learners approach C1 and C2 levels: identity and self-expression. Advanced English is not just about being correct. It is about being yourself in another language. It is about expressing your humor, your personality, your opinions, and your worldview naturally. Let us start with a question that many advanced learners struggle with. Do you feel like you sound like your real self when you speak English? For many people, the answer is not yet. Some feel less confident, others feel too formal, and some feel like their English personality is completely different from their personality in their native language. This is normal, and it changes with practice. Here are some natural expressions that help you express identity more authentically. You can introduce your personality traits by saying, I am the kind of person who needs quiet time to recharge. You can talk about your core beliefs by saying, I have always been someone who values honesty over politeness. To correct a wrong impression, you might say, one thing people often misunderstand about me is that I am actually quite shy. And to state your priorities, try, what really matters to me is integrity. These phrases help you sound more natural and introspective, an essential skill in advanced speaking. Let us explore a topic that connects deeply with identity: culture. Culture shapes the way we see the world, how we communicate, and how we interpret messages from others. When you speak English at an advanced level, you are not only using the language, you are understanding cultural nuances. Consider these questions. How does your culture influence the way you communicate? Do you come from a direct or indirect communication style? Do people in your culture express emotions openly or more privately? Reflecting on cultural differences helps you understand why certain English expressions feel comfortable or uncomfortable for you. For example, imagine someone asks you a personal question. Depending on your culture, you might respond, I would rather not talk about that, or, oh, sure, let me explain. Both are completely natural, but the choice depends on your comfort level and cultural background. Let us move into another advanced topic: describing complex experiences. At higher levels, you need to describe not just what happened, but how it felt, why it mattered, and what you learned from it. Here are some advanced storytelling tools. To describe a memorable event, say, it was one of those moments that really stayed with me. To talk about a delayed realization, say, I did not realize it at the time, but looking back, it taught me a valuable lesson. To identify a major change, say, it felt like a turning point in my life. And to explain influence, that experience shaped the way I see things today. These expressions make your English richer and more nuanced. Now, let us explore a topic that people around the world can relate to: dealing with changes. Life changes constantly. New jobs, new environments, new people, new challenges. And these changes give you meaningful opportunities to use advanced English phrases. Here are some natural expressions related to change. When you are still in the process of getting comfortable, say, I am still adjusting to the new situation. If it was difficult at first, say, it took me a while to get used to it. To show effort, say, I have been trying to adapt as best as I can. And to describe a methodical approach to a big change, it was a big transition, but I handled it step by step. These are extremely common in native-level conversations. Take a moment to reflect in English. What is a recent change in your life? Was it difficult or exciting? How did you adapt to it? Thinking through these questions in English strengthens your advanced speaking skills. Now, let us explore something that many advanced learners want: speaking more smoothly without hesitating. One of the secrets to doing this is using conversation fillers and natural pauses. These are not mistakes. They are what native speakers do to sound natural. Here are some examples. When you need to involve the listener, say, "You know." When you need a moment to formulate an idea, say, "Let me think for a second." When you want to be candid, start with, "To be honest." When explaining a complication, say, "Well, the thing is," and if you want to be blunt but polite, try, "If I am being completely straightforward." Using these phrases gives your brain a moment to think while keeping your speech flowing naturally. Let us now dive into a topic that is essential for expressing maturity and emotional intelligence: handling conflict or disagreement respectfully. Here are advanced polite ways to disagree or express limits. I see your point, but I have a different perspective. I understand where you are coming from, although I do not fully agree. I appreciate your opinion, but I see things a bit differently. I am not comfortable with that, to be honest. I do not think that approach works for me. These expressions allow you to protect your boundaries while still sounding calm and respectful. Next, let us talk about goal setting and ambition, something that advanced learners often express in job interviews, academic settings, and personal conversations. Here are some natural advanced expressions. I am working toward improving my long-term career prospects. One of my main goals this year is to expand my skill set. I am aiming to challenge myself more intellectually. I want to reach a point where I can express myself effortlessly in English. These kinds of sentences show confidence and clear direction. Now, let us explore something deeper and more reflective: how your past shapes your present. Advanced conversation often involves reflecting on childhood, past decisions, old habits, or key life events. Here are some natural advanced expressions. Growing up, I did not fully appreciate the value of education. One thing my childhood taught me was the importance of community. In hindsight, I realized that I made the right choice. That experience had a significant influence on who I am today. Reflecting in English helps you develop emotional fluency. Let us pause and reflect. Is there an event from your past that changed you? What did you learn from it? How does it affect the way you think today? These are the types of reflections that build true C1 and C2 fluency. To close this section, remember this: advanced English is not about big words. It is about depth, clarity, and confidence. It is about expressing who you are, your personality, your emotions, and your experiences in a natural and meaningful way. As we continue this advanced English practice, let us move into a topic that plays a major role in high-level communication: understanding subtle meaning and reading between the lines. At C1 and C2 levels, people do not always say exactly what they mean. Instead, they hint, imply, or express thoughts indirectly. Being able to recognize this is a sign of true fluency. For example, imagine someone says, "I might need some help with this if you are not too busy." They are not just asking for help. They are also being polite, considering your schedule, and trying not to sound demanding. Advanced English speakers notice the tone, intention, and emotion behind the words. Here are some expressions that often carry hidden meanings. If someone looks at a suggestion and says, "It is fine, do not worry about it, be careful," this often implies, "It is not actually fine, but I do not want to argue about it right now." If you propose an idea and the other person says, "That is interesting," with a flat tone, it usually means, "I disagree, but I am being polite enough not to say no immediately." If you invite someone out and they reply, "I will think about it," it is often a soft way of saying, "Probably no, but I do not want to reject you directly." And if a host says, "You are welcome to join us if you would like," it usually means, "I am inviting you out of politeness, but please do not feel pressured to come." Learning to decode these hidden meanings helps you navigate social situations smoothly without awkwardness. Let us explore this deeper with a few reflective questions. Do people in your country speak directly, or do they speak indirectly? Have you ever misunderstood someone because of subtle expressions? Do you prefer communication that is clear or communication that is diplomatic? These are topics often discussed among advanced English speakers because communication style varies greatly around the world. Now let us shift to a skill that truly separates intermediate speakers from advanced speakers: expressing complex reactions. Instead of using simple phrases like, "that is nice" or "that is bad," advanced speakers express reactions with nuance. If something happens that you did not anticipate, you might say, "That caught me off guard." If the outcome was completely different from your prediction, you could say, "I was not expecting that at all." If someone explains a confusing behavior and you finally understand the motive, you might say, "That actually makes a lot of sense." To validate someone's anger or sadness, you can say, "I can see why you would feel that way." And to acknowledge a struggle, you might say, "That must have been difficult to deal with." These expressions are natural and widely used by native speakers. Let us move on to another essential topic: building strong conversational flow. At advanced levels, conversation is not just about speaking. It is about maintaining rhythm, responding naturally, and keeping the interaction alive. Here are some tools that help. When you want to express an opinion but do not want to sound arrogant, soften it by saying, "I might be wrong, but it seems to me that," or "if I am being honest." When you want to show you are engaged in a story, ask follow-up questions like, "Really? What happened next?" Or, "That sounds fascinating. Tell me more." And if you want to bridge two topics together smoothly, use phrases like, "Speaking of that," or "That reminds me of," or even, "Now that you mention it." These are the kinds of expressions that help you hold long, meaningful conversations without awkward silences. Now, let us explore a topic that people across the world relate to deeply: dealing with emotional fatigue. Our modern world is fast, competitive, and filled with expectations. Many people carry emotional pressure quietly. Being able to talk about this in English requires advanced emotional vocabulary. Instead of just saying, "I am tired," which usually implies physical tiredness, an advanced speaker might say, "I have been mentally drained lately." If they are taking steps to recover, they might say, "I am trying to recharge and take better care of myself." If they feel isolated despite being around people, they might admit, "I have been feeling disconnected." If the workload is high but they are surviving, they might say, "I am overwhelmed, but I am managing." And if they are avoiding drama to stay calm, they might say, "I am working on protecting my peace." These sentences help you express emotional reality in a mature and natural way. Now, let us turn to something lighter but equally important: talking about daily routines in a detailed, advanced way. Many learners think daily routines are simple topics, but at C1 and C2 levels, you can describe them with much more depth. For example, instead of saying, "I wake up and go to work," an advanced speaker might narrate their morning by saying, "I usually start my morning slowly, giving myself a few minutes to get mentally ready for the day. Then I head to work, where I try to organize my priorities before things get too busy." See how much richer and more natural that sounds? Let us explore more advanced ways to describe routines. You might say, I have been trying to create healthier habits lately. If your mornings are rushed, you could admit, my mornings are usually chaotic, but I am working on improving them. If you practice mindfulness, you might say, I take a few minutes each day to reflect and plan ahead. And for your evening routine, I try to end my day with something relaxing. These are the kinds of expressions people use in real conversations everywhere in the world. Now, let us move to a topic that advanced speakers often enjoy discussing: personal philosophy. Your personal philosophy includes your beliefs about happiness, success, relationships, discipline, and how to live a meaningful life. Here are some natural ways to express personal philosophy. When discussing failure, you might say, I try to remind myself that progress matters more than perfection. When discussing altruism, you could say, I believe that small acts of kindness can change someone's day. Regarding social media and envy, you might note, I have learned that comparison only makes life harder. And regarding resilience, one principle I try to follow is to stay grateful no matter what happens. These expressions show maturity and clarity in your communication. Before we close this part, let us introduce one more key skill for advanced learners: expressing doubt, hesitation, and uncertainty naturally. Sometimes you do not have the answer, and that is okay. Here are some common expressions for those moments. If you are skeptical, say, I am not entirely convinced. If you are deciding between options, say, I am still weighing my options, or I am torn between two choices. If you need more time, simply say, I have not made up my mind yet. And if you are cautiously optimistic, I am uncertain, but I am open to possibilities. These expressions help you communicate clearly, even when you do not have a definite answer, something native speakers do all the time. As we continue this advanced English practice, let us explore a topic that plays a major role in deep, meaningful conversations: understanding yourself and your emotional patterns. At C1 and C2 levels, people often talk about not only what they do, but why they do it. They talk about their fears, motivations, reactions, and personal growth. Let us begin with a perspective many people share. Sometimes we do not fully understand our own reactions until much later. Something happens, we respond emotionally, and only afterward do we think, why did I act like that? This type of emotional reflection is common in advanced English discussions because it requires complex thought and rich vocabulary. Here are some advanced expressions for emotional self-awareness. You might admit, I have realized I tend to overthink things more than I should. Regarding anger or stress, you could say, I am learning to recognize my triggers and manage them better. If you withdraw when stressed, you might say, I have noticed that I shut down when I feel overwhelmed. And if you are in a period of introspection, I have been reflecting on my behavior lately, and it has been eye-opening. These phrases help you talk about emotions in a deep, honest, and sophisticated way. Now, let us shift into something incredibly useful for advanced communicators: the skill of expressing encouragement and support. In English-speaking cultures, offering support verbally is very common, whether in friendships, the workplace, or daily life. Being able to encourage someone naturally is a strong sign of fluency. Here are some advanced supportive expressions. If a friend is struggling, say, I know things are tough right now, but I am confident you will get through this. To validate their growth, say, you have made more progress than you realize. To show faith in them, say, I genuinely believe in your abilities. And to remind them of their success, do not underestimate how far you have come. These phrases help you create warmth empathy, and emotional connection. Next, let us explore a topic that advanced speakers frequently discuss: the impact of culture and environment on personal growth. Our backgrounds influence our values, our habits, our dreams, and even the pace at which we live. Consider these questions. Do you come from a fast-paced or slow-paced culture? Do people in your country value independence or community more? How has your cultural background shaped your ambitions? These are deeper questions that help you reflect on your identity and express your thoughts in English more confidently. Let us move to another essential topic for advanced communication: decision-making. At C1 and C2 levels, you need to express how you make decisions, how you evaluate choices, and how you think about consequences. Here are some useful expressions. If you are analyzing a situation, say, "I am weighing the pros and cons before making a final decision." If you are being cautious, say, "I am trying to think things through carefully." If you trust your gut feeling, say, "I tend to follow my intuition when the situation is unclear." And if you need data, "I prefer to gather as much information as possible before deciding." These sentences help you sound thoughtful and balanced. Now, let us explore a universal theme: learning from failure. Everyone fails at some point. What matters is what we learn, how we respond, and how we move forward. Discussing failure in English requires emotional maturity and advanced vocabulary. Here are some powerful expressions. "It was a setback, but it pushed me to grow." That experience taught me a lesson I really needed. At first, I was disappointed, but eventually I found clarity. Looking back, I am grateful things did not go as planned. It was not easy, but it helped me develop resilience. These expressions show depth and reflect real human experience. Let us pause to reflect. What is a failure you learned something valuable from? How did it change your perspective? Did it help you become stronger or more self-aware? Thinking through this in English helps you practice emotional storytelling. Now, let us move into a topic that appears often in advanced conversations: navigating uncertainty about the future. People everywhere wonder what lies ahead: career changes, life paths, relationships, dreams, opportunities. Advanced speakers express this using natural phrases like, "I am unsure what the future holds, but I am staying optimistic." Or, if you are being flexible, "I am trying to stay open to new possibilities." If you are focusing on the present, say, "I do not have everything figured out yet, but I am taking things one day at a time." These expressions sound natural, confident, and emotionally balanced. Next, let us talk about an advanced skill essential for both professional and personal conversations: giving constructive feedback. Many English learners hesitate because they do not want to sound rude. But with the right expressions, you can give feedback politely and respectfully. Instead of saying, "This is bad," try the sandwich method or a polite suggestion. "One thing that could improve is," or "Have you considered trying a different approach?" You might also frame it as a hypothesis: "I think it might help if we adjusted the timeline." And always start with the positive. Something you did really well was the organization, but the content needs a review. These are excellent for workplace discussions, group projects, and everyday interactions. Now, let us explore something lighter: sparking interesting conversations. At advanced levels, you want to discuss a wide range of topics, not just basics like food or weather. Here are conversation starters advanced speakers use to break the ice at a deeper level. What is something you have been curious about lately? Have you read or watched anything thought-provoking recently? What is a belief you held in the past but changed your mind about? What is something you are looking forward to? These questions lead to meaningful, enjoyable conversations that help you practice sophisticated English. Before we end this section, let us focus on one more important skill: expressing gratitude with depth and sincerity. Simple thanks is fine, but advanced expressions go further. I truly appreciate your kindness. Thank you for taking the time to help me. It means a lot to me. I am grateful for your support and understanding. I do not take your effort for granted. These expressions make your communication more heartfelt and natural. As we continue this advanced English practice, let us shift into a topic that becomes essential for C1 and C2 fluency: persuasive communication. Persuasion is not about arguing or forcing someone to agree. It is about presenting your ideas clearly, logically, and respectfully, so others can understand your point of view. In everyday life, persuasion appears everywhere, convincing someone to try something new, expressing why you think a certain choice is better, or sharing your opinion in a discussion. Here are some natural persuasive expressions. To introduce a point, say, "One reason I believe this is because." To base your argument on facts, say, "The evidence suggests that." To share an observation, say, "What makes me think this is?" And to appeal to logic, say, "From a practical standpoint." These phrases allow you to sound confident and logical while still remaining polite and open-minded. Let us explore an example. Imagine you are trying to explain why learning English daily is more effective than studying only once a week. Instead of saying it is better to learn every day, an advanced speaker might say, "One clear advantage of daily practice is that it helps you retain information longer. The consistency keeps your brain actively engaged, which leads to faster progress." This kind of reasoning demonstrates mature, persuasive communication. Now, let us move into a topic that shows emotional intelligence: handling misunderstandings. No matter how fluent you are, misunderstandings happen, especially in a second language. What matters is how you respond when they do. Here are advanced expressions for resolving misunderstandings calmly. "Sorry, I think there might have been a misunderstanding. Let me clarify what I meant. I may not have expressed that clearly. Let me rephrase it. I see what you mean. Let us make sure we are on the same page." These phrases help you stay composed, respectful, and clear. Now, let us explore another important advanced skill: expressing subtle emotions. Intermediate speakers use simple emotional words like happy, sad, or angry. Advanced speakers use more specific feelings. Instead of just unsure, you might say, "I am feeling a bit uncertain." If you are happy but quiet about it, you are quietly excited. If you are annoyed but in control, you are slightly irritated, but it is manageable. If you have mixed emotions, you might say, "I feel a mixture of relief and worry." These phrases help you communicate more accurately and naturally. At C1 and C2 levels, emotional precision is a powerful tool. It deepens your conversations and makes your English feel alive. Now, let us transition to another core topic: professional English. Advanced learners often need English for work, meetings, presentations, interviews, or communicating with international teams. The key is sounding both professional and natural. Here are some advanced workplace expressions. To draw attention to something, say, "I would like to highlight an important point." To examine details, say, "Let us take a closer look at the data." To propose the next step, say, "To move forward effectively, we should." And to ask for an explanation without being rude, ask, "Could you clarify what you meant by that?" Let us imagine a common workplace scenario. Someone shares a proposal, and you want to respond professionally. Instead of saying, "I do not like it," you could say, "I appreciate the idea, though I have some concerns about how practical it is. Maybe we could explore an alternative approach." This phrasing shows professionalism, respect, and advanced fluency. Let us expand on this professional skill set by discussing managing upwards and the art of diplomatic pushback. In many professional environments, you may need to disagree with a boss or a senior colleague. This requires a very specific set of English skills to ensure you sound helpful rather than rebellious. The trick is to frame your objection as a concern for the project's success. Instead of saying, "We cannot do that by Friday," which sounds negative, an advanced speaker might say, "I am concerned that if we rush this for Friday, we might compromise the quality. Would it be possible to extend the timeline to Tuesday?" Notice the structure. State the concern, explain the consequence, and propose a solution. Another advanced technique in meetings is validating before adding. When you want to add an idea that changes the direction of the conversation, you first validate what was just said. For example, "I think Sarah's point about the budget is really valid. Building on that, we should also consider the marketing costs." This phrase, "building on that," is a wonderful tool. It connects your idea to the previous one, making you sound like a team player who listens, rather than someone who just wants to hear their own voice. Now, let us shift into a topic people find relatable worldwide: navigating modern life pressures. Technology, expectations, financial responsibilities, and constant comparison can make people feel overwhelmed. Being able to talk about these issues in English helps you express your thoughts naturally. You might say, "I have been feeling the pressure to keep up with everything." Or, regarding social media, "It is hard not to compare myself to others." If life feels too fast, you might admit, "Sometimes I feel like modern life moves faster than I can handle." If you are taking a break from phones, say, "I am trying to disconnect from digital noise when possible." These sentences appear often in real, meaningful conversations with native speakers. Now, let us explore a powerful topic: personal transformation. People change over time through new experiences, challenges, relationships, or opportunities. At advanced levels, you need language to express this growth. Here are some nuanced expressions. "I am not the same person I used to be. I have grown a lot in the past few years. My experiences have shaped me in unexpected ways. I have learned to set better boundaries. I have become more patient and less reactive." Talking about growth in this way shows introspection and emotional depth. Now, let us explore one of the most important advanced skills: using metaphors and figurative language. Native speakers use metaphors constantly, and mastering them helps you sound more expressive. If you are extremely stressed, you might say, "I feel like I am carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders." If you missed a chance, you might say, "That opportunity slipped through my fingers." If you are starting fresh, use the phrase, "I am turning over a new leaf." If you learned something profound, say, "That experience opened my eyes." And if you are doing something new and scary, say, "I am walking into unfamiliar territory." These expressions appear in everyday conversation, movies, books, and professional settings. Next, let us talk about building deeper connections through conversation. Advanced English is not just about language. It is about relating to people, asking meaningful questions, and sharing experiences. Here are strong connection-building questions. What is something that changed your perspective recently? What do you value most in your life right now? When was the last time you stepped out of your comfort zone? What is a lesson life has taught you the hard way? These questions open the door to deeper, richer conversation. As we continue this advanced English journey, let us move into another essential area for C1 to C2 speakers: expressing complex thoughts clearly. At this level, it is not enough to know grammar. You need to articulate subtle ideas, explain reasoning, and express layered opinions. Let us begin with language that helps you present balanced viewpoints. On one hand, but on the other hand, while I understand that perspective, I see it slightly differently. I agree to some extent, though I have some reservations. It is a complicated issue with multiple sides worth considering. There is no simple answer, but here is how I see it. These phrases help you sound nuanced and thoughtful, which is essential for advanced communication. Now, let us explore a topic that appears frequently in advanced conversations: life priorities. People often discuss what matters most to them: health, family, personal growth, career, freedom, stability, or happiness. Being able to express priorities clearly shows mature reasoning. You might say, "I am trying to prioritize my well-being more these days." Or, if you value mental health, "I have realized that peace of mind matters more to me than anything else." If you are thinking long-term, say, "I am focusing on long-term happiness rather than short-term gains." And regarding balance, "I am trying to strike a balance between ambition and rest." These sentences help you express what truly matters to you. Now, let us shift into an advanced conversational theme: human behavior and psychology. Many real discussions revolve around understanding why people act the way they do. This topic naturally invites complex vocabulary and structured thinking. Here are some useful expressions. People often act out of fear, even when they do not realize it. Our behavior is deeply influenced by our environment. It is easier to judge others than to understand them. People sometimes repeat unhealthy patterns without noticing. Most conflicts come from unmet expectations. These sentences help you explore psychological ideas with clarity. Now, let us explore a domain that advanced learners must master: explaining complex problems and solutions. This is especially useful for work presentations and debates. Here are some structured ways to present a problem. Start by defining the core issue. The main issue we are facing is, then add context. One factor contributing to this situation is, then explain the difficulty. The challenge lies in balancing these conflicting needs. And here are ways to present solutions. One possible approach would be, a long-term solution might involve. We could consider breaking the problem down into smaller steps. It may help to look at this issue from a different angle. These structures help you sound organized and intelligent. Next, let us move into a topic that advanced speakers love discussing: philosophy and deeper life questions. Philosophical conversations are powerful because they push you to think, expand your vocabulary, and express abstract ideas. Here are some philosophical prompts. What does it truly mean to live a meaningful life? Do you think people are shaped more by their choices or their circumstances? Is happiness something we create or something we discover? Why do we fear uncertainty when it is a natural part of life? Do you think humans are becoming more connected or more isolated? These kinds of questions make conversations more intellectually stimulating. Now, let us move into an important aspect of C1 to C2 English: emotional storytelling. Being able to describe personal experiences with emotion, detail, and reflection shows mastery. Here is a natural storytelling structure. Describe the situation. Explain how you felt. Highlight the conflict or challenge. Share the lesson or insight you gained. Let us look at an example. A few years ago, I faced a difficult decision that forced me to choose between stability and personal growth. At first, I felt anxious and uncertain, but eventually, I realized that the risk was worth taking. That experience taught me that fear often hides opportunities. This kind of storytelling is authentic and compelling. Now, let us expand into a topic relevant to every advanced learner: building meaningful relationships. Healthy relationships depend on communication, empathy, trust, and vulnerability, topics that naturally require sophisticated language. You might say, "I am learning to communicate more openly with the people around me." Or describe your standards. I value relationships where both sides feel respected and understood. Or your environment. I am trying to surround myself with people who encourage growth. And a key lesson. I have realized that healthy boundaries strengthen relationships. These ideas deepen your conversational skills. Now, let us turn to something equally important: developing emotional resilience. Life is unpredictable, and advanced speakers often reflect on how they cope with challenges, stress, or setbacks. Here are some natural expressions. I am learning to accept things I cannot control. I am working on staying calm during difficult moments. I am trying to respond instead of react. I am focusing on solutions rather than problems. I have learned to be patient with my own progress. These sentences help you express emotional maturity. Next, let us explore the language of curiosity and exploration, another sign of advanced fluency. Curiosity keeps conversations alive and shows enthusiasm. Here are some natural expressions. I have always been fascinated by. I wonder what would happen if. I have been exploring the idea of. It makes me curious how. I would love to understand more about. These phrases help you sound engaged and intelligent. Before we wrap up this section, let us focus on one more advanced communication skill: expressing doubt while staying confident. This is sometimes called strong opinions, weakly held. You can be confident in your voice even if you are not sure of the facts. I am not entirely sure, but I think. I could be wrong, but my impression is. It is hard to say for certain, though it seems like. I do not have all the answers, but here is my perspective. I am still figuring this out, but here is what I have noticed. These phrases make your English sound realistic, balanced, and thoughtful. This brings us to the end of this part. In the next section, we will explore advanced conversational speed, natural transitions, deeper emotional vocabulary, and even more C1 to C2 patterns to elevate your speaking. As we move forward with this advanced English practice, let us shift into a skill that separates intermediate speakers from truly advanced ones: speaking with natural transitions. Transitions help your speech flow smoothly. They connect ideas, guide the listener, and make your English sound polished and effortless. If you want to connect the current topic to a new one, say, "Speaking of that." If a thought pops into your head, say, "This reminds me of something important." If you want to deepen the analysis, say, "Now that we have talked about this, let us take it a step further." To simplify a complex idea, use "to put it simply." And to introduce a new perspective, say, "Let us look at it from another angle." Using transitions like these helps you sound coherent and confident. Now, let us explore another advanced communication skill: expressing deep personal insights. At C1 and C2 levels, you need to express thoughts that are subtle, reflective, and emotionally rich. Here are some phrases advanced speakers use. I have realized something about myself recently. The older I get, the more I understand that. I have been rethinking the way I approach. One thing life has taught me is, I am beginning to see things differently now. These expressions help you sound introspective and thoughtful. Let us move into a topic that many learners find challenging: abstract thinking. Native speakers often talk about ideas, big ideas, not just concrete things. Ideas about identity, motivation, relationships, culture, habits, fears. This requires sophisticated language. Here are some great abstract thinking expressions. People often underestimate the impact of small habits. Identity is shaped by both our choices and our environment. We create meaning through the stories we tell ourselves. Growth usually happens outside our comfort zone. Most people do not realize how much their mindset affects their actions. Practicing these helps you go beyond surface-level English. Now, let us explore something practical and important: expressing emotional boundaries. Healthy communication often requires setting limits politely. Advanced speakers must be able to say no or express discomfort without sounding rude. Here are some natural boundary-setting expressions. I am not comfortable with that, but thank you for understanding. I would prefer not to discuss that right now. I appreciate the offer, but I will have to decline. That does not work for me, but I hope we can find another solution. I need some time to myself at the moment. Learning these phrases helps you communicate respectfully and protect your emotional space. Now, let us shift to another essential skill: talking about long-term goals with clarity. At advanced levels, you need to articulate dreams, aspirations, and future plans in a structured way. You might say, "I am working toward building a more fulfilling life," or specific aims. "One of my long-term goals is to," or aligning actions with beliefs. "I hope to create opportunities that align with my values." And regarding skill building, "I am developing skills that will support my future ambitions." These expressions help you talk confidently about your future. Now, let us explore one of the most important aspects of advanced communication: talking about relationships with nuance. Relationships, friendships, family, romantic connections, work dynamics require emotional intelligence and careful language. You might say, "I am learning to appreciate people who respect my boundaries," or "I value relationships where honesty and kindness go hand in hand." To describe your own growth, "I am trying to communicate more openly with the people I care about." And a core need: "It is important for me to feel seen and understood." These sentences help you express emotional depth clearly. Now, let us shift to expressing motivation and discipline, two topics people all over the world talk about. Here are some advanced ways to express these ideas. "I am trying to build habits that support my progress." "I am learning to stay disciplined even when motivation fades." "I am focusing on long-term consistency rather than short bursts of effort." "I am working on creating systems that keep me accountable." "I am trying to replace excuses with action." Expressions like these sound natural and powerful. Let us dive into a slightly different topic: dealing with uncertainty in life. People often face choices without clear answers. Talking about uncertainty in English requires mature, balanced language. Here are some useful expressions. "I do not have everything figured out yet, but I am doing my best." "I am learning to embrace uncertainty rather than fear it." "The future is unpredictable, but I am staying hopeful." "I am trying to trust the process, even when the path is not clear." "I am open to wherever life leads me." These sentences help you express complexity with calmness and clarity. Next, let us build your ability to use figurative and expressive language, which is essential for sounding natural. Here are more metaphors and expressions native speakers use. If you have to make a big decision, you are standing at a crossroads. If you are hoping for a solution, you are trying to find the light at the end of the tunnel. If something brings relief, it is a breath of fresh air. If you have past trauma, you might say, "I am carrying emotional baggage I need to let go of." And if a moment changes everything, call it a turning point in my life. Using these expressions gives your English a richer and more colorful tone. Now, let us explore advanced conversational empathy, responding in a way that shows understanding and emotional support. Here are some natural empathetic responses. "I can see why you would feel that way." "That sounds really challenging. Thank you for sharing it." I understand why that would bother you. You handled that situation better than you realize. I am here for you if you need anything. These responses help you build deeper, more meaningful connections in English. Next, let us talk about something extremely valuable at higher levels: the ability to express contradictions within yourself. Humans are complex. We often feel two opposite things at the same time. Being able to express this makes your English sound natural and nuanced. You might say, I am excited but also nervous, or I am grateful, yet I still feel overwhelmed. Regarding self-belief, I am confident in my skills, but I sometimes doubt myself. Regarding change, I want change, but I am afraid of what it might bring. Or simply, I feel both hopeful and uncertain. These expressions sound authentic and emotionally intelligent. Before we end this section, let us touch on one more advanced topic: describing personal growth through challenges. Here are some powerful expressions. That experience forced me to grow in ways I did not expect. It taught me responsibility and discipline. I learned how strong I really am. It helped me understand myself on a deeper level. That challenge changed me in a meaningful way. Talking about personal growth like this shows emotional maturity and C2 level fluency. As we continue this advanced English practice, let us move into a skill that C1 and C2 speakers must master: advanced storytelling. Clear storytelling is important, but emotional storytelling is what truly captivates listeners and keeps them engaged. It transforms basic language into expressive, meaningful communication. Let us explore a natural structure used by fluent speakers. Set the scene. Describe the emotion. Explain the conflict. Show the turning point. Share the insight. Here is an example of how an advanced speaker might tell a story. A few months ago, I went through a situation that pushed me outside my comfort zone. At first, I felt uncertain and overwhelmed because I was not sure how things would turn out. But then something shifted. I made one small decision that changed everything. Looking back now, I am grateful, because that experience helped me understand my own resilience. This style of storytelling is emotional, structured, and natural, and it keeps listeners interested. Now, let us explore one of the most sophisticated communication skills: expressing nuanced opinions. At C1 and C2 levels, opinions are rarely simple. They are layered, balanced, and supported with reasoning. You might say, I can see both sides of the issue, but I lean toward, or, to show caution, while I acknowledge the benefits, I am cautious about, or, to show your mind is not made up. It is a complex topic and my thoughts are still evolving. And, to admit bias, my perspective might be influenced by my own experiences. These sentences sound thoughtful, mature, and realistic. Let us take a moment to explore a topic many advanced speakers discuss: finding balance in life. Balancing work and rest, ambition and peace, independence and connection. You might say, I am trying to find a healthier balance between productivity and well-being. Or, I have realized that constant busyness does not always lead to fulfillment. And regarding speed, I am learning to slow down without feeling guilty. Or prioritizing. I am beginning to prioritize quality over quantity. These expressions are common in real conversations around the world. Now, let us shift into something powerful: deep emotional vocabulary. Intermediate speakers often use basic words like happy, sad, or angry, but advanced speakers use more precise emotional language. Here are some emotional vocabulary upgrades. Instead of happy, say content, fulfilled, uplifted, or deeply pleased. Instead of sad, say downhearted, disappointed, discouraged, emotionally drained, or heavy-hearted. Instead of angry, say frustrated, irritated, agitated, or resentful. Instead of nervous, say uneasy, on edge, restless, or unsettled. These words make your English far more expressive. Let us practice emotional precision with a short reflection. Think about something that happened recently. What emotion did you feel exactly? Was it frustration, relief, confusion, excitement? Try naming the emotion with greater detail. Now, let us move on to another advanced topic, reflecting on past mistakes without judgment. This is an important part of emotional maturity and natural English communication. Here are some natural expressions. I did not handle this situation perfectly, but I learned from it. I can see now that I reacted emotionally instead of thoughtfully. At the time, I did not understand what I understand today. It was a mistake, but it helped me grow. I am kinder to myself about it now. These expressions show clarity, honesty, and compassion. Next, let us explore another essential skill, expressing ambition and drive. People around the world want to grow, achieve, and improve. And advanced speakers must talk about these goals clearly. You might say, I am pushing myself to reach a higher level. Or, I want to challenge myself and step into bigger opportunities. Or, regarding self-improvement, I am working on becoming a better version of myself. These sentences sound confident and inspiring. Now, let us move into a deeper topic, understanding personal limitations. Being honest about your limits is not weakness. It is emotional intelligence. You might say, I am learning to accept that I cannot do everything at once. Or, I am becoming more aware of my own limits. Or, to protect your time, I am trying not to overextend myself. And simply, I am learning to say no when necessary. These phrases help you sound self-aware and grounded. Let us shift into another advanced concept, adjusting your expectations. Humans often expect too much from themselves or others, which leads to frustration. You might say, I am trying to set more realistic expectations for myself. Or, I have learned to let go of perfection. Or, regarding others, I used to expect too much from people, but I am learning to be more understanding. These sentences show emotional maturity and depth. Now, let us explore a topic relevant to everyone, overthinking. People around the world struggle with thinking too much, worrying too much, or analyzing everything. You might say, I tend to get lost in my thoughts sometimes. Or, I am learning not to overanalyze every situation. Or, to describe anxiety, my mind often jumps to the worst case scenario. And the solution? I am trying to trust myself instead of overthinking everything. These are common in real conversations with native speakers. Before we end this section, let us focus on expressing hope and looking forward to the future, another key part of advanced communication. Here are some phrases. I am optimistic about what lies ahead. I am hopeful that things will work out. I am looking forward to new opportunities. I believe the future holds something meaningful for me. I am excited to see how things unfold. These expressions help you end conversations on a positive, uplifting note. As we move closer to the end of this advanced English practice, let us explore a skill that truly distinguishes C1 to C2 speakers, intellectual conversation. At this level, you should be able to talk about ideas, big ideas, not just events, ideas about society, human nature, personal growth, creativity, technology, culture, and the future. Let us start with some natural expressions used to introduce intellectual reflections. One idea I have been thinking about lately is, it is fascinating how I have been reflecting on the relationship between. It raises an interesting question about what this really makes me wonder is, these expressions help you introduce thoughtful points and contribute meaningfully to deep conversations. Now, let us move into a powerful topic: how modern life affects our emotional well-being. People today often talk about stress, digital overload, and the pressure to succeed. Here are some expressions that sound natural and advanced. Life is moving faster than many of us can emotionally process. The pressure to constantly improve can be overwhelming. I think technology has connected us, but also made us more distracted. Many people feel mentally exhausted without knowing why. I am learning to create space for silence and mental rest. These expressions help you discuss life in a way that resonates with people across cultures. Now, let us explore another essential concept: self-compassion. Many people are kind to others but harsh toward themselves. Being able to talk about self-compassion in English demonstrates emotional depth. You might say, "I am trying to be more patient with myself," or "I am learning not to criticize myself so harshly," or regarding rest, "I am giving myself permission to rest." And perspective, "I am learning to celebrate my progress instead of focusing only on my mistakes." These sentences show maturity and emotional growth. Now, let us shift into another advanced skill: expressing complex contrasts. Life is full of contradictions, and advanced speakers often express two opposing truths at the same time. I feel grateful, yet overwhelmed. I am confident, but I still have moments of doubt. I am excited for the future, yet nervous about what is ahead. I want to grow, but part of me fears change. I feel hopeful, even though things are uncertain. These expressions sound honest and emotionally intelligent. Next, let us explore the language of deep reflection. Reflection is a key part of advanced communication because it shows depth of thought, wisdom, and self-awareness. Looking back, I can see how much I have evolved. I did not realize it at the time, but that moment shaped me. I understand now why things unfolded the way they did. That experience taught me something I needed to learn. I am grateful for the clarity I have today. These sentences make your English sound rich and meaningful. Now, let us move into a topic that appears often among advanced speakers: the impact of environments on our behavior. Where you live, the people around you, the culture you are part of, all these influence how you think and act. We become like the environments we spend time in. Some places bring out the best in us, while others drain our energy. The people around us shape our habits more than we realize. Sometimes a change of environment is the first step toward growth. Our surroundings influence our identity in subtle ways. These statements help you express ideas with nuance. Now, let us explore maturity and emotional intelligence, two essential parts of advanced conversation. I am learning to pause before reacting. I have realized that not everything deserves my emotional energy. I am becoming more aware of my emotional triggers. I am trying to respond with understanding, not judgment. I am learning to communicate without blaming or assuming. These reflect emotional depth and self-awareness. Next, let us shift into another advanced concept: finding meaning in challenges. Difficult experiences often shape us in powerful ways, and advanced speakers can express this with clarity. Challenges often reveal strengths we did not know we had. Sometimes adversity forces us to grow in unexpected ways. Painful moments can become turning points in our lives. Struggle often teaches lessons that comfort never could. Even difficult experiences can plant the seeds of future growth. These sentences help you talk about hardship with perspective and maturity. Now, let us explore something philosophical: the human desire for connection. No matter where we are from, humans crave understanding, acceptance, and belonging. People want to feel seen, heard, and understood. We thrive when we feel connected to others. Loneliness is not just physical, it is emotional. Meaningful connection requires vulnerability and trust. We all want relationships where we feel valued. These ideas resonate no matter your background. Now, let us practice another skill: expressing subtle emotional states. Intermediate speakers use basic emotions. Advanced speakers use layered ones. I feel mentally scattered today. I am emotionally drained but trying to stay positive. I am feeling quietly hopeful. I am a bit overwhelmed, but I will manage. I feel nostalgic in a way that is hard to explain. These phrases make your English sound natural and authentic. Next, let us talk about letting go of perfectionism, a topic many learners relate to. I am learning to let go of impossible standards. I do not need to be perfect to make progress. I am focusing on improvement rather than perfection. I am trying not to compare myself to others. I am learning to embrace imperfections. These statements help you express mental well-being and realistic expectations. Now, let us explore the language of renewal and starting fresh, another deeply human experience. I am entering a new chapter of my life. I am ready to start fresh. I am letting go of what no longer serves me. I am giving myself space to grow into something new. I am stepping into a version of myself that feels more authentic. This style of language is powerful and often used by native speakers in emotional, reflective conversations. Before we close this section, let us talk about expressing clarity after confusion, a skill that advanced speakers often demonstrate. Everything makes more sense now. I finally understand what I could not see before. I have gained a clearer perspective on the situation. What once felt confusing now feels understandable. I see the bigger picture more clearly now. These expressions show insight, maturity, and growth. As we come to the final section of this advanced English practice, let us bring together all the skills you have been developing throughout this lesson: clarity, depth, emotional intelligence, natural expression, and confident communication. Let us begin this last part with a powerful topic: seeing yourself with honesty and compassion. At the C1 to C2 level, this ability helps you communicate more sincerely and thoughtfully. I am learning to acknowledge both my strengths and my weaknesses. I am becoming more aware of the patterns that hold me back. I am trying to approach my flaws with understanding, not judgment. I am learning to be proud of how far I have come. I am giving myself credit for the progress I used to overlook. These phrases show emotional depth and maturity, key features of advanced communication. Now, let us shift into another meaningful topic: what truly matters in life. People everywhere reflect on meaning, fulfillment, and purpose, and these conversations naturally require advanced vocabulary. I am realizing that what matters most is inner peace. I have learned that meaningful relationships are worth more than anything material. I am focusing on creating a life that feels grounded and authentic. I value experiences that help me grow as a person. I am trying to live in a way that aligns with my values. These sentences help you express your deeper priorities clearly. Next, let us explore one of the most advanced communication skills, ending conversations with insight. Closing thoughts should feel intentional and emotionally resonant. In the end, we are all trying to figure things out as best we can. At the heart of everything, we just want to live meaningfully. When you look back, the small steps you take today will matter most. Most of life is a balance between holding on and letting go. The journey is just as important as the destination. These help you conclude deep conversations gracefully. Now, let us move into a topic that ties everything together: the courage to keep growing. Here are some phrases that reflect this idea. I am learning to take small steps even when I feel uncertain. I am committed to becoming someone I am proud of. I am learning to trust the process even when it feels slow. I am taking responsibility for my growth and my future. I am choosing to believe that better days are ahead. These expressions show strength, clarity, and purpose. Let us take a moment for a final reflection. Think about everything you have learned, not just today, but throughout your English journey. You have improved your vocabulary, emotional expression, storytelling, reasoning, clarity, and confidence. You have learned to speak naturally, thoughtfully, and authentically. And most importantly, you have learned to trust your voice in English. Now, let us explore one final advanced topic: the universal human experience, something every person on the planet shares. We all experience moments of doubt, hope, and transformation. Every person carries a story that shaped who they are today. We are all trying to navigate life with the tools we have. No one goes through life without challenges. What connects us is not perfection, but our shared humanity. These expressions allow you to speak with empathy and understanding, true marks of fluent communication. As we come to the end of this masterclass, I want you to take a moment to acknowledge the mental work you have just done. Listening to and processing advanced English for this length of time is not easy. It requires focus, cognitive stamina, and a genuine desire to grow. The fact that you are still here at the end of this session proves that you have the discipline required to reach C2 fluency. Today, we did not just cover vocabulary. We explored the architecture of the language. We looked at how to soften a disagreement to save face, how to deepen a connection through vulnerability, and how to articulate the complex reality of your inner life. You now have a toolkit not just for speaking, but for connecting. Remember, true fluency is not a destination where you suddenly stop making mistakes. True fluency is the comfort of knowing that even if you make a mistake, you have the skills to recover, clarify, and keep the conversation flowing. It is about trusting your voice. I encourage you to take one or two phrases from today's lesson, just one or two, and use them tomorrow. Maybe it is a way to express uncertainty, or a new way to describe your daily routine. Small, consistent applications are what build a skyscraper of fluency over time. I am Elena, and it has been a privilege to guide you through this practice. If you found value in today's deep dive, please support the channel by liking this video and subscribing to English in Moments. Your support allows us to keep creating these advanced resources for learners like you around the world. Keep listening, keep speaking, and most importantly, keep believing in your own voice. I will see you in the next lesson.